Hello and good morning, MYM Insiders. How are you doing today? This is Rich Harshaw. We're here for our Tuesday morning ad clinic. And today we actually have one of our few non-contractors, James Freeze, on the call with us today, who we'll start with. And we also have, I think Alex will be with us after that. So I'm going to go ahead and start with James. Let me see if I can get you on the line here, James. All right, you should be unmuted now. Are you there?
Yes, Rich, I am. How are you doing?
Good. How's Canada today? Speak for the entire country.
Oh, my part of the country is cold, although it has warmed up to about -10.
It's December, it's Canada, and it's cold. That's a newsflash.
Yeah.
And you say it's warmed up to -10. What was it before it warmed up?
Well, that's Celsius, so it was about -25 Celsius on the weekend. So not happy.
I don't know how cold -25 is, but it sounds really cold. Well,
yeah,
thanks for being with me today. We're going to talk about cat food, I think.
Yeah.
So let me pull this up. I've got it on my PowerPoint, but I think I want to pull it up on the original document. It'd be a little bit easier to deal with and to write on. Let me find that real quick.
Yeah, I have since talked to the head office about it, and they weren't excited about the title. Not the title. Some of the claims. They just didn't want to get into any legal battles because it's not officially a vet food.
It's not officially a vet food?
Not officially a veterinarian food.
And what's the difference? I can probably guess, but why don't you just tell me?
Well, yeah, vet food, it's only veterinarians have access to it. It's, yeah, specifically formulated to address problems, specific problems. This food line attacks it from a different angle by using the pH, by keeping the cat's body pH in the optimal range. Then by doing that, you alleviate those common crystal problems. So, but because we're not vets, head office didn't want to be that specific in solving.
Head office for what? Global Pet Foods or for Feline Caviar?
Head office for Global Pet Foods.
Okay, so tell me about this a little bit. So, are you frustrated, tired of having to buy crazy expensive cat food because your cat has urinary crystals? Is that a pretty common thing?
It is fairly common. And you hear, and because people have said, "Oh, my cat had crystals like 3 years ago, I can't change my cat's food." It's not uncommon to get that kind of stuff, and you even get weird stuff like, "Oh, my other cat has crystals, so I change the food. I don't stay on the vet food," or like, "Well, geez, that was the other cat. This is this one." Like, and really, just quite often, just by switching to a higher quality food, you eliminate those problems. So
okay, so you've got let me ask you this. This is really basic, but I don't know. What is a urinary crystal? Is that where it pees a crystal?
Yeah, and there's two different types, because you get one type of crystal if the pH is too high, and another type of crystal if the pH is too low.
And when it says crystal, in my mind, I see something almost akin to salt grains. Is that wrong?
Yeah, it can create pain for the cat when urinating, and more severe cases, it requires surgery.
And how common is this?
Not unusual to hear somebody talking about it in the store, or getting a customer on a weekly basis about this.
Okay. And the people that have cats with this problem, typically they're aware of this problem?
Yeah.
And if I came to you in the store and said, hey, I've got a cat with this problem, what do I need to do? Obviously, you've got this product here, but outside of you and your store, what would the typical solution be?
I mean, a lot of customers still believe whatever the vet says. We have to go over to get the vet food and stay on it for the rest of the cat's life. Whereas, really, in reality, when typically a lot of pet owners are feeding cheap foods from grocery store brands, and where they got excessive amounts of grain and stuff, and by just going to a better food that has some blueberries and cranberries in there, it helps with the urinary tract issues. It goes away. You feed a little bit of, and a lot of more progressive vets will say just by going to a better quality food and feeding a little bit of canned wet cat food along with the meal, then it alleviates the problems.
Okay, so what you're saying is this problem exists in a certain number of cats. The veterinarian is going to say the solution is to feed your cat this very expensive, almost what we'll call medicinized food. Is that correct? Is that correct enough?
Sure.
Okay. And you're saying, no, really what you need to do is just serve the cat a higher quality of regular food, which is this feline caviar. And in many cases, that will solve the problem. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay.
And just do a little bit of wet food with it.
Okay, but you're offering a solution that is not any kind of a medical solution. It's like telling somebody that has a human that has a certain type of health problem that instead of taking medicine, if they would just alter their diet to healthier foods, it would solve the problem. Similar to that type of scenario, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, here's what I want to know. Yours is $19.99 for a 4.4 pound bag, right? According to this flyer.
Yeah, starting up there.
How much would a similarly sized bag of the veterinarian's food cost?
Oh boy.
I don't need it to the penny. Just give me a good guess.
I would guess double.
Okay. All right, we're going to go with double for our conversation, even though it may turn out to be a little bit different, okay?
Sure.
Okay, so, it's pretty straightforward. I don't know that there's really anything to change up about it. The only thing I might change about it is to make it a little bit more direct and maybe a little bit less scientific sounding. Here's what I mean by that. If your cat suffers from urinary crystals, I can't spell, as you know from having been on here before. Actually, I just can't type. I'm a pretty good speller. I'm a terrible typist. If your cat suffers from urinary crystals, now, how comfortable are you in saying that this food will definitely fix the problem, will probably fix the problem, might fix the problem, there's a small chance it'll fix the problem? What's the reality?
Probably.
Okay, so how about good chance?
Sure.
You okay with that?
Yep. That thought here while you're typing, I've also had people come in ask me about this food, and then they're confused. They pay this expensive food at the vet, and they look at the ingredients, and it's a bunch of grains and corn in there. That's why I got that second subtitle there, or whatever. They just like.
But I mean, do most people know that? I mean, some people do, but the average guy that's got a cat, does he realize and or know to look and or care that it's cheap grains and corns? And I understand that he cares to the extent that he understands that it's causing a problem, but I'm assuming the majority of the people assume that if their veterinarian gave him the food, that it doesn't matter what's in it, it must be good. And if it's grains, great. If it's corns, who cares? Whatever the veterinarian told me is fine. True enough? I would find it hard to believe that very many people would look at the bag that the veterinarian gave them and say, well, hey, wait a second here. This has got a bunch of grains and corn in it, and that's not going to solve my problem. They're just not going to do that because they don't know. Nobody knows what's supposed to be in freaking cat food.
I guess it
Nobody
depends
knows.
Shopping, where they're at in their shopping. If they just go to Costco and go to grocery stores for their pet foods, they're probably not going to ask.
You're missing the larger point. If the veterinarian says, hey, here's what you need to do for your cat's problem, very, very few people are going to look at that food, read the label, and say, no, veterinarian's wrong. It's got too much cheap grain and corn in it. This is not a good solution. They're not going to do that. It could have horse manure in it. And if the veterinarian told them to use it, they wouldn't care. They'd be like, oh, I guess horse manure is how you cure this. Are you following me?
Yep.
So you're really, really close to the cheap grain and corn thing. Plus, how do people even know it's cheap grain? Maybe it's high quality grain, right? We've been lulled by the human food marketers that whole grain is good grain, right? We don't know. I mean, we don't know. We're all victims of stupidity and ignorance and vicious marketing. If your cat suffers from urinary crystals, expensive, veterinarian, I don't know how to spell that word.
There's either, yeah.
There you go. Veterinarian, is it prescribed food or recommended food?
Well, I guess only vets sell it, so I guess it's prescribed.
If your cat suffers from urinary crystals, expensive veterinarian recommended food may not be necessary or even effective. Does that sound right?
I'm not sure about the or even effective part, but
I don't know. You're telling me it's got cheap grains and corn. Your expert opinion is that stuff's not good.
I think the bang for the buck is questionable.
But it does work.
Yeah.
This is going to be redundant, but indulge me here. Because I know I already called it expensive. If your cat suffers from urinary crystals, I don't know. You know what, James? I'm actually, here's the funny thing. I'm actually not saying that your headline isn't good. I'm just looking at different ways to say it. I think the way that you said it is pretty straightforward. I'm not super crazy about the phrase crazy expensive. I think it's hard for people to really necessarily see it and understand that the word crazy and expensive go together, right? It really is. It should be this. This actually helps it a little bit. Crazy expensive. See what I did? I just tied those two words together.
Oh, okay.
The food's not crazy, right? It's just food. But it is crazy expensive. So here's all I'm doing. I'm saying, well, let's look at maybe a different way to say it. But I don't know that we need a different way to say it necessarily, because the way you said it is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
You know, that are you tired of cheap grains and corn doesn't necessarily tie to the top headline, because a lot of people aren't going to know that. Yeah, I'm tired and frustrated of having to buy crazy expensive cat food. And then when I see this thing out here that says, are you tired of cheap grains and corn? I don't even necessarily recognize that those two things are related. But if I say it like this, it's overpriced because it's loaded with cheap grains and corn, then I go, oh, okay. There's a cause and an effect. There's an A plus B, right? You see that difference?
Mm-hmm.
And then what I might do is come in here, move this somewhere else for a minute. I might come in here with just a little paragraph of text. Stop spending your hard-earned money on specialty cat food, on expensive specialty cat food that probably isn't even necessary. You know, cat food. The fact is, which your corporate probably doesn't like, most of that food, I want to find a better way of saying that, costs twice as much as it should. You can solve your cat's urinary crystal with a much cheaper, much healthier alternative. It's called feline caviar. You see how, because before you just sort of threw this feline caviar up there, and you made it incumbent upon me to understand that what feline caviar is, that everything below this and these bullet points relates to this thing called feline caviar, when I don't even really know what it is. By the way, we want to make this title case typically. Do you guys in Canada use the phrase sick and tired?
Yeah.
I see what you're saying here. It just seems a little more natural speech to say, are you sick and tired of having to buy crazy expensive cat food? And right. Frustrated and tired. When I say sick and tired, the word tired then suddenly doesn't literally mean exhausted, worn out, fatigued. It just means, I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
When you say are you frustrated and tired, you pull that word tired away, and it almost gives it a more literal, it's 11:30 at night and I'm tired feel to it.
Right.
Are you sick and tired of having to buy crazy expensive cat food? Now, what you just watched me do was break these lines different so that they read a little bit better.
Right.
I don't know if you watched that. You can go back and watch the video. It's pretty cool if you think about it. Are you sick and tired of having to buy what? Crazy expensive vet recommended food for your cat's urinary crystals, or maybe even to treat your cats. Is that too strong to say to treat?
Not sure. Maybe not. How about manage?
What your cat really needs is healthier food, not a prescription. Stop spending your hard-earned money on expensive specialty cat food. The fact is, most no, here's what I'm going to do. I can't even spell the word recommended. I'm embarrassed. Can't spell. Stop spending your hard-earned money on expensive specialty cat food. The fact is, without a comma, no, we'll leave it. The fact is, most vet recommended food costs twice as much as it should. You can solve your cat's urinary crystal problem with a much cheaper, much healthier alternative. It's called feline caviar. It uses natural ingredients. Watch this. It uses natural ingredients and no corn to help maintain the cat's body pH in a healthy range to prevent whatever crystals. Reasonably priced, starting in 1999. Part of a free food program. Buy 12 going free. For more information, feline caviar. Okay, that's probably pretty good.
Okay, let's see how the thoughts, how thinking flows better.
What are the crystals caused by? You said it earlier.
Body pH being too high or too low.
Yeah, but that's the symptom. What is it caused by?
what causes a pH to go too high or too low?
Well, it apparently has to do with the food they're eating. Otherwise, changing the food wouldn't make a difference.
Yeah, I think when there's the
it's
cheaper
cheap.
food, a lot of grains in it, a higher proportion of grains, I think that the animal is at higher risk of the pH going out of proper range.
Well, I'm going to go from many to most. Most urinary crystal problems are caused by feeding your cat cheap foods that are primarily grains and corn. True or false?
Yeah.
Okay. This I need a better word for messes up, but go with me. Isn't pH something like that, or is it small pH?
I think it's small, then maybe I can't remember if it's capital H or not.
Does vet recommended stuff also have the grains in it?
Vet recommended, yes. Most often corn.
Does yours have any corn or grain?
Nope.
Remember earlier I sort of made a quick mention about too sciencey?
Right.
Yeah, nobody knows about this struvite calcium oxide. That's too much.
Okay.
If they've got crystals, they know it's crystals. That's all they need to know, right?
Right.
Why do they, look what I've done. Here's how the problem is caused. Here's what the normal solution is and why it's not a very good solution, even though it works. And here's what ours is and why it's a good solution.
Right.
Reasonably priced, $19.99. We probably don't need that anymore because it's overkill. Probably need to change this to 3. Grain-free, low glycemic flavors, chicken and salmon, wild ocean, and venison. For a free program for more information. Okay, I like this. So we've got your same headline. We just rearranged it a little bit. Are you sick and tired of having to buy crazy expensive vet recommended food to manage your cat's urinary crystals? Why, yes, I am. Thanks for asking. What your cat really needs is healthier food, not a prescription. That may be overkill, so you can change that if you need to. Stop spending your hard-earned money on expensive specialty cat food. The fact is, most of that recommended food costs twice as much as it should, and still isn't the healthiest option. True or false? True. You can solve your cat's urinary crystals with a much cheaper, much healthier alternative. It's called feline caviar. Most urinary crystal problems are caused by feeding your cat cheap foods. They're primarily foods that are primarily grains and corn. So I just threw a little jab at the supermarket. You like that?
Yeah.
This messes up the cat's pH level, and you might want to change the word messes up, disrupts, whatever, which causes crystals. Your vet will recommend higher quality food, which will solve the problem, but it is prohibitively expensive and still contains a lot of corn. Corn or grains in both or what? Feline caviar is a healthy, fresh alternative. It's loaded with real proteins, right?
Right.
Chicken, fish, venison, and has zero corn, zero grain, and zero ABC. I don't know. Does it have zero something else that sounds bad?
Whatever.
If it doesn't, pull it out. It will solve the urinary crystal problem because your cat will enjoy better overall health. It's reasonably priced, starting at $19.99, available in 3 grain-free, low-glycemic flavors. It's part of a free food program. Buy 12, get 1 free. For more information, blah, blah, blah. How long will a pound of food last?
How long will a pound of food?
Yeah.
I'll have to find out because I don't have a cat. A few days anyway.
Dude, you sell cat food. You need to know this. Boom. There you go. That's a great ad right there. I would buy cat food from that ad if I had a cat with the urinary crystal problem.
Yeah.
It hits the problem. It tells you what the issue is. It gives a little introductory paragraph. It tells me why the problem exists. It tells me what the normal solution is and why that's not a good solution. It tells me what the alternative is and why it's a better solution. And it tells me that I can try it for free. What else could you possibly ask for in an ad? This is a great ad.
Yeah.
I'm going to give myself 5 stars on this ad.
Oh, that's good. You're able to email that to me?
Of course. I'm just trying to find. I've got a lot of James on here. What's your email?
JFROESE44@gmail.com.
I'll copy Chad on it because he'll post it to our website also. Okay, there you go. I think that's all we have time for, but that should do the trick for you.
Hey, thanks a lot, Rich.
All right. Pleasure talking to you again. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, bye-bye. All right. And now we'll turn our attention to Mr. Alex. Alex, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
I am here. Oops. I think we're here.
Yeah, I'm off the speakerphone now. Good morning.
Good morning. I can only please one person per day, and today is your lucky day, so please follow my wise advice. Tell me what this is.
Being our chief marketing psychologist that you are, the question is, when, if ever,
can you visualize using this with a customer or a prospective customer? And there's another one of these sheets that is sort of the exact opposite of this.
This one.
That's the one.
Right. So I don't know when I would ever use something like this. It seems, first of all, this one obviously is supposed to be funny, I hope.
Well, it is, and frankly, I've only used it twice, and both times it's been used with lawyers who were, I won't even call them prospective customers, clients, because they were such difficult animals to deal with.
Okay, so in those cases, what you need to do is just let people know that here's a sign if you want to show them a sign, because you really don't care if they're offended. And otherwise, you can just not use a sign and say, you know, whatever.
That's right. And
okay, so let's look at this sign, though.
Okay.
I can only please one person per day. Is this supposed to be playing off people's familiarity with the other sign? Because I'm familiar with the other sign. I've seen that several times over the years. So is this supposed to sort of be like The Sixth Sense, where at the end of the movie you find out it's different than you thought? So in this one, I find out at the end of the sign that instead of being snarky and rude, it's actually trying not to be rude and it's trying to be helpful. Is that what you're trying to accomplish here?
I'm trying to deal with people who have done an incredible amount of research on the internet or otherwise, and they seem to take the position that they know all there is to know, and in fact they don't. And I would like them to get the idea that they really don't know all that they think they know, and they should follow my advice instead of all the other things they've heard.
Yeah, that's probably not a good way to accomplish that, because that's not how I read the sign at all. Golly. So regardless, this is going to come across sort of condescending, snarky, and arrogant. So I probably wouldn't use it in every
well,
day.
I agree
business.
with you, and it's really intended to be a little bit funny. So if somebody does come across through email messages or verbally on the telephone, for instance, as thinking that they know all that there is to know, what would be some text that I could put in an email message that gracefully and kindly would say this sort of thing?
So let me ask you this. Let's assume that person, we'll call this person Bob, has done their research online, or they have a cousin who's an expert, or however they've obtained their so-called expertise. How is that going to manifest itself? Are you going to end up getting on a phone call with them or come out to their house and they're going to start arguing with you about solutions, or what does that look like?
They come across as being authoritarians when...
Yeah, but how? On the phone, in person? What's the most common way?
Always, and often it's on the telephone.
Okay, so frequently on the phone, right?
Yes.
And what kinds of things will they be arguing with you about? I know it could vary, but just give me an idea.
They may. Let's take humidifiers, which is a subject right now in our area. They may have done a lot of research online. They may have talked to our competitors, whatever, and they've got all this information right down to the make and model of humidifier that they think they want to install, and they'll call and we'll make suggestions about variations in the different humidifier models, and based on asking them a lot of questions, we'll give them a couple of ideas on the telephone. And then they start more or less in an argumentative tone, because they've gotten all this information, all the information from other people, other sources, and so forth. And that's that's where we'd like to just cut it short and say, look, we know what we're talking about. You need to follow our advice rather than all this other nonsense you've heard about.
Out of 10 cases where that type of scenario comes up, how many times out of 10 do you turn that person around to your way of thinking versus they just sort of go away mad and think you're an idiot and that they're smart?
I'd say it can be as much as 25% of the time they go away, I guess, thinking that I'm a jerk, and that particularly is true if they hear from us what the right thing to do is, and then they have we may have even given them a price tag, what it's going to cost to do the right thing. When they've heard possibly from somebody else that.
But 75% of the time, you're able to turn them around to your way of thinking?
Yes, but only after a very expensive, personal, in-the-face house call that we'd have to make. We have to see them.
Is it worthwhile?
Argumentably, whatever, probably not, because if we have to actually go and make a house call at a considerable, what should I say, distance, and it usually is, then just because we make the house call, the whole sales transaction becomes very expensive. In other words, we can't afford to spend $500 to sell a $1,000 item. So
why not just learn to tell these people, you know what, I don't think it's a good fit. Goodbye.
Well, that's in effect what this sign says.
Right. So here's what I'm suggesting. In absence of using a sign, which could be ambiguous and hard for people to understand and maybe not super timely because you have to email it to them, why not just tell these people, hey, you know what, it sounds like you've got a good handle on this, and clearly we disagree. So, you know, I wish you luck.
Yeah, well, we have done that kind of thing, and what we say sort of depends on our feel for the personality that we're dealing with.
Right. Naturally, and the good thing about that is it's always you guys on the phone as owners, so you've got heightened ability to make those distinctions as opposed to, you know, a receptionist, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think what you're telling me is that it would be much better if we did this kind of thing verbally than to put it in print.
Well, I mean, there's almost no upside to putting it in print. It's going to be the same effect, and the downside is you look like a big fat jerk instead of just somebody they disagree with.
Yeah, I agree. Is there,
you know,
can you think of something that we could put into an email message, sort of as a follow-up item to a phone call or a follow-up item to an email message that, I guess, leaves the door open, more or less saying, if you're still interested, if you're dissatisfied with another source, you're welcome to come back and we'll treat you well.
I'm pretty well practiced at this because I don't know if you happened to read a Thanksgiving blog posting I put online last week or not. Did you happen to see that? It's called Everything's Amazing and Nobody's Happy.
I think I saw it, but frankly, I didn't read it.
Well, you need to go back and read it. It was pretty good. But part of that blog posting was saying that people make themselves upset because they enjoy being upset, and they want something to argue about because it helps them feel empowered to have some position that they can dig their heels into. Now, here's why I'm telling you this. I came to a conclusion myself after not a long time, but a short amount of time, that engaging in online Facebook type arguments with people really is a waste of time, and it usually only engenders negative feelings. Are you I know you're a little bit on the older side, but you're familiar with Facebook and you use that kind of stuff, right?
Yes, I agree with what you're saying wholeheartedly.
So let's say that you're a conservative and somebody that's a liberal posts something on there about Ferguson, which just happens to be timely. And confirmation bias allows both parties to have a very strong opinion that is 99% incompatible with the other party, right?
Yes.
So what happens is these people get online and they start debating it, and one party says this, the other person says that, and it devolves into sort of name calling and ideological warfare, right?
Yes.
Here's what I've found, and I'm bringing all that up to bring us to this point of the question that you're asking me here. Here's what I found. I found that it's a marketing principle. I didn't get to it on our last strategic marketing call when we were going through psychological marketing psychology, but I will on the next one. I'll preview it for you right now. It's what I call the Jesus principle. And the Jesus principle says, agree with your adversary while they're in your presence, lest they esteem you to be an enemy and try to harm you. And I think in practical, in plain English terms, what that means is try to find some area of agreement and focus on that, and then have the ability to part as friends instead of as enemies. So in the online debates, that could be saying something like, understanding, empathetic type comments. In the case of the Ferguson situation, if you were a conservative, you could say to a liberal, I understand that there's a lot of hostility in these communities, and I understand that police brutality and police misbehavior is concerning, and acknowledging, right? And on the other side, if you were the liberal talking to the conservative, I understand that there's got to be responsibility and personal integrity and so forth. And the point is just to make some sort of concession, understanding what it is the other person wants. Now, in your case, all of that to come to your case, right? I'm not just babbling on about random political things. All of that to come to your deal. I might put together an email that says something like, now let's use the principles here. The principle says agree with your adversary. And when do you agree with your adversary? And according to that scripture, it's while you're in their presence. Okay?
Yeah, and while you're in the presence of your enemy is a very important part.
Now, that could be on the phone. That can also be via email. So if you were going to agree with your adversary, what would you say? Can you genuinely find any area of agreement? And the answer is, yeah. How about this? Dear Fred, this is the email, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I'll just type it up, then I'll just have it, okay?
All right.
Dear Fred, can't even spell dear. Dear Fred.
Whatever you're doing, we don't see it on the screen. There we go.
You should. Yeah, it's just a little lag time there. I don't know why. Thank you for your time on the phone today. Clearly, you are
well informed.
Clearly, you have taken the time to research your situation, problem, whatever it is, right? Your furnace, right? Clearly, you've taken the time to research your situation and come up with several specific solutions. Can we agree on that, right?
Okay, that's good.
This comes across positively as a positive thing. I wish more of our customers had the desire, motivation. This is not exactly how I want to say it, but you get the idea. To understand
all that you do.
These kinds of things. Again, we're going to have to go back and polish this on a technical level. It's very impressive. And oftentimes, very helpful because it allows us to use text speak with lay people.
Yeah, that's good. That's almost flattering.
Yeah, right? Well, and it's true, right? It's like, hey, you're a jerk because you researched this. As we discussed on the phone, how about this? Like with anything, there are always different ways to look at a situation and different approaches to problem solving. As I mentioned on the phone, I don't necessarily agree with the approach you are pursuing, recommending, whatever, right?
Yep.
So I don't think it's a good fit for us to work with you on this particular project.
Okay, now how can you turn that into something where you leave the door open for them to come back to us if they later on decide, what
How about this?
Okay.
So let's soften this up a little bit. So we're going to soften it first. It's probably not a good fit for us to work with you on this particular project. If you discover, if you have any questions, problems, or concerns, concerns as you
move ahead,
do whatever you were going to do, please do not hesitate to call us.
Okay.
We are a happy and willing resource for information and want to make sure you know that there's no hard feelings if you don't do business with us. If there is anything we can help you with now or in the future, please feel free to call us and pick our brains. Now that's different than call us to do business with us, right? I'm just opening the door to have the discussion again. So maybe you don't want to have that discussion.
That last sentence, I'd make a new paragraph.
Yeah, I agree with that. In fact, I usually go back and break these into multiple paragraphs. It makes it a lot easier to read. Probably here also. Oh, I want a paragraph right here. There. It becomes a nice little, quick, easy to read four paragraph email.
Yeah, it's good.
Good, Fred. Thank you for your time on the phone today. Clearly, you've taken the time to research your situation, come up with several specific solutions. I wish more of our customers had the desire and motivation. You clean that up a little bit. understand these kinds of things on a technical level. It's very impressive and oftentimes very helpful because it allows us to use tech speak with lay people. Like with anything, there are always different ways to look at situations, different ways to approach problem solving. As I mentioned on the phone, I don't necessarily agree with the approach you were pursuing, so it's probably not a good fit for us to work with you on this particular project. How about this? However, it's a good transition word there. If you have any questions, problems, or concerns as you, whatever you're going to do, please don't hesitate to call us. We're happy. I'm going to throw this word in here. Still, right? Another door opener. Still happy and willing. We're still happy and willing. Still happy and willing. To be a resource for information. I want to make sure you know there's no hard feelings if you don't do business with us. If there's anything we can help you out now or in the future, please feel free to call us. Call us. Even if it's just to pick our brains. I like that because it appeals one more time to their information gathering pride.
Yep.
And I haven't laid down the, well, we've got 23 years of experience condescending tone. Hey, call us and pick our brains. I've opened the door to be a resource for them. This is clearly a person who is gathering information, so this appeals to that. I haven't said anything negative. I've acknowledged that we disagree, but I've done it in a very respectful way, and I've left the door open for future dealings. I like it.
It was good.
And I like it better than the sign that basically says, hey, jerk, listen to me. Although you may feel like saying, hey, jerk, listen to me, it's probably not the best policy.
Well, I agree with that. Should we copyright this?
No, you can, no. We're going to sell this to everybody.
I understand. I think this is good.
All right, it's coming to you right now. You want to send us out a sub?
I have another question. I didn't make a submission on it, and you may be willing to talk about it now or on another date. But we have a challenge getting information from what was a prospective customer, and the people have decided to do business with another contractor. And for some unknown reasons, they absolutely refuse to talk to us, to even oftentimes tell us who the competing contractor is that they've decided to do business with. Not only do they not...
That's not unknown. That's an easy answer to why they won't talk to you. They're just embarrassed. They don't want to talk to you.
Well, I understand that, and it exists in the remodeling business, any business. What, if anything, can we do to soften that up a little bit, make them more willing to give us a little information as regarding why they made the decision they did?
I've got an idea for you. Hang on. Let's see here. Move over, Bacon. All right, let's start with this one. In fact, let's do this. Dear Fred. So here's what you want to do with this one. You basically want to go in and say, hey, I understand that I'm gathering from your lack of response that you went ahead and hired another company to do business with, right?
Yes.
How's that for a subject line?
Okay, that's pretty straightforward.
Well, let's say that you were, I don't know, shopping for a car, and you'd been talking to a guy, and you've been talking to the guy, and you seemed pretty interested, and it looked like you might have a deal. You hadn't committed, but it looked like you were heading in that direction. And then you found something else, and it was clearly better, and you just weren't comfortable with the first guy after you talked to the second guy, or whatever, right? For whatever reason.
Yeah.
And things went quickly, and you ended up buying the second car. And so now you've got that embarrassing situation where they're calling you. Most people are just going to ignore the call. Caller ID makes that very, very easy, right? We get this in sales all the time. We get people, oh, yeah, I want to buy from you guys. MYM is awesome. And then just, radio silence, nothing. So if you were to receive an email from that guy that said no hard feelings, you're going to at least read it. Now, contrast that with an email that said, hey, what's happening? Or, hey, just wanted to touch base. Or, hey, those ones you're probably going to delete or not read because you know what the guy's trying to say, right?
Yeah.
He's trying to say, hey, what happened, jerk? Because you know you're a jerk, right?
No hard feelings is a very good 3-word opening sentence, statement, whatever.
Yeah, dear Fred. Now, here's what's interesting is if they actually just put the decision off and didn't hire anybody yet, then this one still is very powerful and has a chance to maybe reel them back. Dear Fred, obviously, I'm no detective, but I probably don't want to get sarcastic with him. Dear Fred,
I'm not a mind reader.
No hard feeling. Dear Fred, obviously you ended up going with another company for your new furnace or whatever, right?
Yep.
Obviously, you ended up going with another company or furnace. I just wanted to email you and let you know that there are no hard feelings. I get it. Sometimes an offer comes up that
you can't refuse.
Looks better, or you end up buying from a friend or relative or whatever. We've all been there. We've all been there, or at least I know I have. All right? So here's what we've done. We just let them off the hook. Now, some people would have some prideful vengeance in them that would say, well, I don't want to let them off the hook. But it doesn't matter if you want to let them off the hook. They already did it, right? It's done. It doesn't really matter what you think or care or want, right?
Right.
So why be a jerk about it? Dear Fred, obviously you ended up going to another company for your furnace. I just wanted to email you and let you know that there are no hard feelings. I get it. Sometimes an offer comes up that looks better. You end up buying from a friend or relative or whatever. We've all been there. I know I have done the same thing on
occasion.
I think it's important to say I know I've done the same thing on occasion. I think it's really important for them to be validated that, hey, this is a natural human thing. Because here's the reality. Here's the honest to goodness, all BS stripped away reality. They have no obligation to buy from you. None.
Right.
Even if they were talking to you and you feel like maybe they were just pumping you for information, or maybe they were just trying to get a price from you so they could, compare it and have the other guy that they really wanted to go with meet your price, or, whatever. Even if you feel like it was reasonably disingenuous, which most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's just, well, there's this other guy. or maybe the other guy was cheaper, right? Cheaper is
just
probably pretty typical.
Or the timing was somebody hit them at just the right time or something. I know.
Yeah. But regardless, they were absolutely under no obligation to buy from you. So
Right.
we can't take it personally like they broke a contract and they, now hey, we're going to get you. So I think this is a better approach. Obviously, you ended up going to another company for your new furnace. I just wanted to email you and let you know that there are no hard feelings. I get it. Sometimes an offer comes up that seems better, or you end up buying from a friend or relative, or any number of things. We've all been there. I know I have done the same thing on occasion. I'm going to bold that and italicize it. I just wanted to let you know that we're still here. We're still going strong. And we'd still be delighted to help you with any heating or air conditioning needs you may have now or in the future.
Okay, now, right in this line, is there something you could say that would indicate that if you're dissatisfied with the company you chose, we'd be happy to help you?
No, I don't think that. I mean,
don't say
really,
that.
Well, it's embedded into this, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have. Now, here's what I am going to do, though. Just hang on here. I'm going to throw a little bit of identity in here. As you know, we pride ourselves on honesty, integrity,
Ethics.
work ethic,
Full disclosure.
and honesty, integrity. I've been working on your stuff, so it's all at the tip of my fingers here. Honesty, integrity, work ethic, and hang on, I got the word. Don't say it because you're just going to make me forget it. And spirit workmanship. As you know, we pride ourselves on honesty, integrity, and workmanship. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this. I'm going to move it over to here. I just wanted to let you know that we're still here. We're still going strong. And we'd still be delighted to help you with any air conditioning needs, any heating or air conditioning you have now or in the future.
I think that's a good place to end right there. Signed, sincerely yours, Rich Harshaw.
Sincerely, P.S. If there was anything, we're always trying to get to, I'm going to just use the common word. We're always trying to get better. If there was anything about dealing with our company or our proposal that left a bad taste in your mouth, please do me a favor and reply to this email and let me know. Don't worry, you won't. Did you notice when I sent you that identity for review, I said, don't worry, you won't hurt my feelings?
Yes.
Didn't that immediately put you at ease that you could give me honest feedback?
Yes.
And here's why. Because all I want is honest feedback. I just want to get it right, man. Right? That's what we want to say here. Don't worry, you won't hurt my feelings. In fact, quite the opposite. If anything was wrong, I'd like to know so we can fix it. Yeah. Thanks again.
That's pretty.
This is a great email.
That's a pretty powerful thing. You can also give yourself 5 stars for that one.
I got 10 stars today.
10?
And I got 5 stars for James. I'm up to 15 stars on one call. I was going to underline something here. Please do me a favor. I'm going to emphasize that it's doing you a favor.
Yeah, that's good.
Now, you know why that's so powerful? Because I just did them a favor, and reciprocity is going to kick in. The favor I did is I just let them off the hook, and I allowed them to not have a guilty conscience about blowing me off. Not about saying no to me and not doing business with me. That's okay. You have an absolute right to refuse to do business with people without feeling bad, but you really don't have a right to blow people off. That's just rude, and that's what they've done, and that's what this is in response to, right?
Right.
And I just let them off the hook. No hard feelings. Obviously, you ended up going with another company for your new furnace. I just want to email and let you know there are no hard feelings. I get it. Sometimes an offer comes up that seems better, or you end up buying from a friend or relative, or any number of things. We've all been there. I know I've done the same thing on occasion. As you know, we pride ourselves on honesty, integrity, work ethic, and superior workmanship. I just want to let you know that we'd still be delighted to help you with any heating or air conditioning needs you may have now or in the future. It has been a pleasure to get to know you a bit. I hope we can speak again in the future. Sincerely, Alex Walter. P.S. We're always trying to get better. By the way, the reason I read this out loud is because reading it out loud helps you find the things that don't flow quite right. We're always trying to get better. If there was anything about dealing with our company or our proposal that left a bad taste in your mouth, please do me a favor and reply to this email and let me know. Don't worry, you won't hurt my feelings. In fact, quite the opposite. If anything was wrong, I'd like to know so we can fix it. Thanks again. Man, this is a great email. Your best case scenario is somebody reconsiders and buys from you. A next best case scenario below that is they do email you and say, hey, here's what the problem was. Unlikely, but it could happen. But here's the most likely scenario, and it's still really, really good, which is it leaves not just a good taste in their mouth, not just a good feeling about your company, but it's a very proactive type of a good feeling. It's not just, hey, those guys seem like pretty good guys. It's, wow, they went out of their way to be kind to me. And subconsciously in their mind, they're thinking, and I really was kind of a jerk to them, but they were kind to me anyway. So there you go. We got Jesus working overtime today.
That's right. I'm going to send this to somebody that was a prospect in a few minutes.
So let's just review the principle behind this. The principle behind this is if you don't get the deal, being nasty about it or being dismissive about it or being condescending about it is not going to help anyway. It's not going to help any.
Well, you want to leave the door. You want to leave the door open, is what it amounts to.
Well, what you want to do is just make sure that there's a positive feeling going out of this episode of the relationship. I think I like this. I mean, this is a great email. We could easily take and tailor this to deals that we lose. I mean, we're no different than anyone else. We get some deals and we lose some deals, right? That's called business.
And in all honesty, I've dealt with people that I think are such jerks that I never want to hear from them again. So that's the other side of the story.
Yeah, fairly rare. It's more common that they just sort of blow you off because they decided to go a different direction, right?
True.
So this also, I'm just thinking selfishly in my own terms, this also would be a great email to send. Again, selfishly for me, and maybe not for you because I don't know your business well enough. I don't know, do people ever just stall? Because if somebody stalled out on me and it had been, let's say, 10 days or 2 weeks and they just wouldn't return a call or an email, sending them this email in the cases where they had stalled out but not actually gone with the competitor might just jumpstart that discussion again.
I agree, and you're using a stalled out expression. That does happen, and it may happen more often than we realize. We may think that they've gone with a competitor when in fact they have just stalled out.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes if it's 10 below zero and their heater needs to be replaced, they're probably going to do something. But I'm sure there's other cases where it's not as dramatic and not as urgent.
What I suspect is often the case is they think something is going to cost $1,000, for instance, when in fact it's going to cost $5,000. And when they realize what it's really going to cost, they just stall out.
Yeah. So we throw a little bit of identity in there, and this is good. I mean, I think all of the remodelers on this call could very easily take this same approach and use it. In fact, I'm glad you brought this up because I think for the broader audience that's on this call, this particular part of our discussion is more valuable than the previous part.
Well, see, we both get something out of this. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, and hey, just on a personal note, I'll be reaching out to you via email here today, and I'll have further instructions for you there. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. We'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.